Hello, I am your host, Judy Jewett, on the Business Gene Show. The Business Gene is a cutting edge TV show that explores the intersection of science and spirituality and offers a unique perspective on mastering business and life. Our tagline is changing your business mind at a genetic level. Today's guest, I am so excited to bring her in today. Catherine, I'm going to tell a little bit about you, and then I do want you to come in. Catherine Lanigan is the best-selling author of over 40 published titles in both fiction and nonfiction, including the novelization of Romancing the Stone and The Jewel of the Nile, as well as over a half a dozen anthologies, including Chicken Soup for the Soul, Living Your Dream, Chicken Soup for the Writer's Soul, Chocolate for a Woman's Heart, which I love that, and Chocolate for a Woman's Spirit. Your books, your novels have been translated over a dozen languages. And also you can get your books up to date at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, digital copies, as you are a well-known international author. Plus, today, we're even going to dive into all of your other things. So welcome. Thank you very much for joining us, Catherine.
Thank you so much, Judy. I'm very pleased to be here and honored as well. Thank you.
The one thing I want to say about you that isn't here, on a bio, is that it is a real honor to have you here. I'm all about changing the expression of our genes and how we can all live our full potential. And our full potential is literally in the cosmic energy. And sometimes people think, ooh, that's a little woo-woo, but it's all true. And only probably 1 to 3% of the population ever really live their full expression of their genetic coding. And I do want to, let the listeners know, and you, that that's a real honor because you're doing that. And it's such a blessing to have you, and that you have spent your life really doing what you're here to do. And so thank you again for doing that, because you're an inspiration for so many people. And I have one other thing I want to say. I was out to dinner. Oh, this was about a month ago. And the server, I'm always asking the servers, like, well, what is your name? What inspirations, what other things would you like to do? And this one server was telling me, a female that was in her 20s, that, I'm thinking about wanting to, maybe I should work in a library or something. And I said, have you ever thought about, writing a book? She says, oh my God, I do, and I'd love to be like a romance novelist. And I said, oh, I have to tell you, I have a TV show and I have a guest coming on that you're going to want to watch this show, because she is really going to inspire you. So just so you know, your inspiration is of people of all walks of life, right? Whether you're already in business or not, it's for the ones that are coming into the world that are just now ready to really make something happen in their life. So there again, thank you for being such a huge inspiration. Want to ask you, and I know all the listeners want to know, is how did you get started in being a romance novelist?
Well, actually, it is quite a story. I always knew I wanted to be a writer. When I was, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. We did not have television. We had radio programs back then. We didn't have, my father didn't believe in television. In fact, we didn't have a television until I was almost in high school. And he believed that, children should read, which we did. But my mother was ill a lot when I was a little girl. And and my brothers and my sister were all high energy, creative people. And so I would tell stories to them. I didn't write them, but I would tell stories to them. And my imagination was obviously pretty darn bright because I would tell them stories about fairies and elves. So all my stories that I would tell were pretty fantastical at that time. You know, now everybody's like, well, I've seen fairies and I've done this. And so I'm like, oh yeah, well, I was doing that then. So that's how I started. Was I didn't really start writing, but I did start reading early, not as early as some of the kids now. I mean, there are little 3-year-olds that are reading already, you know, and it's amazing to me what the new generations coming in, the new babies being born are so magical. I mean, they're, you know, just really wired differently than we were, I think. But anyway, by the time I got to high school, I had several high school teachers that really, well, they thought I could write, and they encouraged me a great deal, actually, and said, you know, you really need to go to college. You need to major in English. You've got such a flair for writing. You need to do it. You know, and I was on the typical stuff. I was on the you know, newspaper, and I wrote little stories and stuff. I didn't do anything with them, but you know, my term papers and things like that were always longer than everybody else's and in more detail. And I spent, even then, I spent a lot of time in a library, like this girl, when you were talking about the girl being a librarian, I went, yes, that's a really great place to start, you know. Especially if you do want to be a novelist, it's a good place to start because you need to read everything that you possibly can. But anyway, so then when I got to college, I had a creative, my first semester there, I was in a Greek mythology class. And at the end of the semester, we had our choice. We could take a multiple choice test, or you could write your own Greek myth. Well, I opted to write my own Greek myth. And because I was already doing the, you know, the fairies and all that stuff. So I wrote my story, which was supposed to be 15 pages long, and mine was 55 pages long. I couldn't stop, you know, it just started coming out, and that was it. So and I was a freshman. And so my creative writing professor, she was the head of the English department. And the second semester that we were there, we had a traveling, back then I was at a very small Catholic all-girls school, so it was very small. So we had a professor who was traveling, and he was either at Princeton or Yale or someplace like that on you know, an Ivy League college. And he came there for one semester to teach creative writing. And you had to be a second semester senior woman to get into this class. So the professor, my English professor, recommended me to get into this class, which I did. I got into class. So our assignment after being in there for 1 month was to write a short story. So I wrote my short story, I handed it in, and then we were supposed to have the class edit it, right? You know, give you ideas and critique it and all this kind of stuff. Now, remember, I'm the only freshman in this class, right? This is not a good show to begin with, right? Right off the bat, we know this is not good. So the night before I was supposed to present my short story to the class, the professor calls me on a Sunday night and says, I would like to see you in my office in the next couple hours, if that's possible. And I said, sure, I'll be over there. And I figured, you know, I was so set up for this. I mean, so set up for this. And I know, and I told my roommate, I said, he really loved my story. He's going to tell me how great it is. And I mean, I walk in and I'm just ready for the whole thing. And I walked in, I got to the door, and I'm standing in the doorway, and he says, come in, Miss Lanigan. He's one of these really big guys, you know, 6'6", and had the horn rimmed glasses and those, you know, camel hair jacket and everything. And he said, sit down. And I sit down, and he took you had to have it in a little manuscript, you know, cover thing. And he throws it at me. It skids across the desk, lands in my lap, and he says, frankly, Miss Lanigan, your writing stinks. So I said, you know, I'm just sitting there, just really ready about throw up, you know. And I said, I don't understand what you mean. And he said, you have no idea about characterization. You have no idea about plot structure. You have no idea about suspension of disbelief, blah, blah, blah. And he said, I will give you this. Your description is nice. And at that point, I was just like, I literally was in tears. And he said, there is no way you will ever earn a dime as a writer. And he said, however, I've got you at the crossroads of your life because you are only a freshman. You're not a senior. So that it's not like the other girls going out there. And he said, you can change your major. And I said, change my major? And he said, you need to change your major because writing and journalism is not where you need to be going. You need to do something else. And he said, and I understand that when you came into this school, you had your declaration of your goal by the time you got out of this school was to be was to graduate summa cum laude. And I said, well, yes, it is. I said, I expect absolutely to be summa cum laude. And he said, you'll never make it if you don't get a B in my class. And it's too late to take a pass fail. So the only thing that we can do is that I can be your crutches to get you through this class so that you can get a B if you promise never to write again. And so I said, it's a deal. Now later, so that night, I took my little manuscript and a metal waste can and went to the top of my dorm where there was a sun deck up there. Everybody, got their suntans up there. And I had matches and I burned my little manuscript. And I said, for the rest of my life, I will never believe in dreams. If I cannot see it, taste it, chew it, spit it out, and it's not real, I'm not going there. So I did just what he's told me to do through the rest of the class. I got my B and I graduated magna cum laude, not summa, because of that class. So later, when I was on the verge of getting published, my first book that I wrote was a historical. It was about World War I. It was set against the assassination of Archduke Francis Ferdinand in 1914 in Bosnia-Herzegovina. And so I had finished my book. And at that time, romance was just starting. This is 78, 79, right in there. And that's right when romance books were starting to really take off. And so I had met a journalist, and I gave him he was a journalist, actually a research journalist for ABC television. And I gave him my manuscript and I didn't hear from him, it's a long story, which I won't go into. But anyway, he called me one day and he said, I got your book. I read your manuscript and I thought it was damn good. And I thought, what? And he said, I sent it to my agent in New York and she's going to call you in 30 minutes. So in 30 minutes, this woman calls me from New York and she says, Kathy, you are startlingly talented. And I thought, this does not compute with, frankly, Miss Lanigan, your writing stinks. Somehow there's an imbalance thing going on here. And I said, well, thank you. And she says, I want to put you under contract. And right away she says, so do you want to go trade, paperback, hardback? What were you thinking? And what are your career goals? But I have no career goals. I don't even know what a trade paperback is. And I just said, I'll just go with whatever you think we should be doing. And she said, well, I think what I'll do is she said, I'm going to talk to, I can't remember his name right now, Joe Fox. I'm going to talk to Joe Fox over at Random House and I'm going to see what Joe says. She said, I'm having cocktails with him in another night or two or whatever. She said, but I think this is really something. This is where everything's going. She said, she goes, what romance writers are you reading that you know how to do this? And I said, I'm not reading any romance novels. And she said, this is so perfect for the time. So I was right on the time, business-wise, because I'm kind of gearing this into what we're going to talk about, is business-wise, I had the intuition right from the get-go that this was how I needed to write it, not to just write a historical, I needed to give it a romance bent. And that's how I started with romance novels.
Wow.
Exactly, right?
Wow. Yeah. That is wow. That is unbelievable that you didn't give up and you were shocked, but you didn't give up. And that's the most important. Now
for those 14 years, I did not write anything. I did my other things, but I read everything I could get my hands on. And I had double majors, I had triple minors in college. I did nothing but spend my time in the library. I slept there on the weekends. The little nuns would come in and find me on Sunday morning and they'd say, there she is again, Catherine, you have to get up. It's time to go to mass.
So I would say that what you would say to everybody, that never give up. I mean, 14 years.
Yeah.
You did not write.
I did not write, but I was prepared, but my soul was preparing myself for when I was going to write. So that then when I did, the faucet, we had turned on the spigot and the faucet never stopped. And that's why, I mean, actually right now I've got about 51 manuscripts because I've still got several to sell, but I've got 51 now.
Wow.
So.
And you even, and Hallmark bought one of your manuscripts, and there's a movie out.
Yes, The Sweetest Heart.
The Sweetest Heart.
Yeah, it's on Hallmark. You can go to the Hallmark channel and just look up The Sweetest Heart, and it'll tell you when it's going to air next. So anybody that's out there that watches When Calls the Heart, Chris McNally had his start at Hallmark with my show. So that's kind of cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is neat. Yeah, I looked it up so I would know. And I love the actors and actresses of that show.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that is awesome. That's so, let me know, so tell the audience, the listeners, this: when did you then start writing about angels and more mystical things, even though your whole life, as you were saying, you always believed in the mystical side of things?
I did. Even as a little, the first time I saw an angel, I was 3, and it was in this house that I'm in because I bought my parents' house. And but anyway, the thing that really started me writing a book about it was my father. Both my parents had heart. This was in 1987. In 1987, my father and my mother both had heart attacks at the Grand Canyon. And my mother's turned out to be altitude sickness. So she actually didn't have a bona fide attack. But they took her to the hospital in Flagstaff. And as they were taking mother into ICU, my father dropped dead outside the doors of ICU, and he was dead for 22 minutes. And they had 2 cardiologists working on him. They broke all of his ribs, his clavicle, sternum, everything, paddles, defibrillators, everything, trying to get him back to this earth. So anyway, my sister called me. She was in Chicago. I was in Scottsdale. Oh no, I was in Houston. I lived in Houston at the time. And so we flew to Phoenix and met there. And then we flew through a thunderstorm that night to get to Flagstaff. That was back when you could take a plane, even in a thunderstorm. Things are so different now. Now it was then it was adventure. Let's go. But not anymore. And so anyway, we got there, and it was midnight when we walked in, and my father was sitting up. He was awake, and he said, "Oh, Kath, I'm so glad you're here." He said, I have to tell you what happened to me on the other side." And now we were, as I told you, we were very Catholic, and he did not, Catholics didn't call heaven. They called heaven. They didn't call it the other side. And I said, "You mean heaven?" He goes, "Well, that's not really what they call it. They call it the other side, now that I've been there." And I went, "Okay." So he said, "Well, I was talking with the being of light." And I said, "Well, you mean an angel?" And he goes, No. Angels are the other guys."
Your dad is telling you this?
Yeah, my dad is saying this. He says, "The angels are the other guys." He says, "Angels are a species unto themselves. They were over there. This is the being of light that you talk to when you first get over there to the other side." And I said, "And what did the being of light say to you?" And he said, "Well, actually, they said they're going to send me back because I had not learned the only lesson that a human being is sent to the earth to learn, and that is the lesson of love." And he said, "I have to go back because I didn't do it right." But he said, "But the other thing is, the rest of the messages were about you." And I said, "Your near-death experience is about me?" And he said, "Yes." And he said, "You are to talk to people who have seen angels just like you have, what their experiences are, and you are to chronicle them. You're not to change them. You're not to judge them. You're not to do anything, but you're to put them together in a book, and that book and the other books will be published, and you will be judged on this when you die. And I'm going, oh, no pressure. Right? So after that happened, I sat down and I thought, well, I don't have that many stories. And all of a sudden, when I started going through my life with my mother, my sister, and all the things that happened to me, I had stuff for, 2 books to write off the bat. And so HCI, Chicken Soup for the Soul People, they published my first 2 angel books, and then Cedar Fort published my 3rd, and I've just finished my 4th, and I'm working on my 5th. So there you are.
That leads us up to the next question. You are going to be in Lily Dale, which is in New York. It is the oldest spiritual center. It started in 1872, and you're going to be there June 26th, 27th, and 28th, and you're going to be talking about angels.
Yes, I am. I have a 3-hour workshop. People can go online to www.lilydale.org, and you can sign up for my workshop. It's 3 hours. I've actually done a lot of research on angels. I wanted to, I was, I started into something, and then I'm going all over here, and I'm going here, and I'm going there. But I've got besides everything that I've already done for the last, 15 years, I've got a lot more that I want to bring in, because there's the pre-COVID. What we have to understand, both in business and the world, is we have the pre-COVID world and we have the post-COVID world. And it's literally like being pre-World War II and post-World War II. That's where we're at. And things have changed quite a bit. We all learned a lot. I personally lost 26 people that were either family or friends or close friends during those COVID years. Not to COVID. In fact, I didn't have one single one die of COVID. They were all from all other heart attacks, cancer, all kinds of other things, strokes, etc. Probably because they couldn't get treatment because the hospitals were full of COVID. So everybody, I believe, or what I am finding as I'm going around and doing shows and talking to people, is everyone is asking, what happens when I die? Is it really true? Are there really angels? Even people that have thought they believed in angels, not quite so sure right now. Or they're very, very sure. One of the two. But we've all experienced, here in America especially, well, in Europe, all over the world, but here in America, we're talking about it. We've all been through a lot of death. We couldn't be with our loved one when they died. We could not. So we didn't get that. We didn't get funerals. Couldn't go to a funeral. Couldn't go to weddings either. Couldn't see anybody. Can't see your grandchildren. All that kind of thing happened. And that has made those of us that survived through the COVID, that's made us all really think, what happens when I die? Because death has been all around us for the last 3 years.
And we realize that life is fragile and life is sacred. And
yes, we do.
And it really is all those things. And then you have that, what the biggest thing with after COVID is, who do we trust?
Yeah, exactly. Because we've had so many revelations and so many disclosures. I had one lady write to me after a radio show that I did, and she said, everything that I used to believe in, I found out is not true. And I'm so confused, I don't know what to do. And I said, the first thing I will tell you is the one constant that there is the divine. There is a source, there is a God, there is the higher self, whatever you want to call it. Every religion has maybe your religion isn't what it was, but that divinity, that spirituality has not changed. That faith that you have in God has not changed. It's still the same. But there's a lot of other stuff that has changed. It really has.
It has, and it's been, it has been exposed, and
Yep,
some people don't see it, and it's about waking up. It's not about judging.
it's
We're part of the collective consciousness, right? So when you
that's right.
say we're all one, it's true. We're all one.
It is.
We're part of the whole, and we're here to continue our journey. Let's go a little bit deeper into business,
Okay.
because there's going to be even more changes that's
Yes.
going to happen,
Yeah.
and we're seeing it, and it's, on one hand, it's beautiful, it's wonderful. We're coming from a higher energy, higher vibration, and that needs to be really talked about more, about the beauty of all that. And
Correct.
then you have all of the other things that are going to continue to break away and change. So business, the business gene, the expression of our genetic coding with business. So we're going from a 3D of me, more and more into the 5D and higher, which
Right.
is, what are we going to do for the whole? How are we going to all help humanity and make it a better world? And
That's
and
exactly right.
business, and that's really where business needs to be, or go,
Yeah,
right?
it needs to go there. There needs to be more accountability in business, and responsibility for everybody's just, I'm not responsible, passing the buck, blaming somebody else, judging this, judging that. That's not what's going to happen anymore. It's already changed. One of the other things too is that individually, each one of us is at a crisis point. We have to choose. Do I want to go with the my higher vibration, with my higher integrity, with my higher morals? Do I want to go there, or do I want to just stay here, which is sinking as far as I'm concerned, like the Titanic? But that crossroads that we are all at is very, very important, because we're choosing what's in the heart. As never before, we have to follow our heart. That's how you live your life to the fullest. What does my heart say? Literally sit down, be quiet, shut up, don't be talking, and just say, what do I want? What do I really want? I really want to write a book. I really want to have the very best. I only want to surround myself with people of like mind. That's number one. If you've got people that are really pulling, I'll say emotional vampires, toxic situations, places of work that bring you down, make you sick, that's not your highest vibration. So that's why if you don't leave, believe me, the divine will make it happen so you do leave. They'll and that next window will be open, and it'll be a really big golden door. You're going to go through it, and that's where business is going. For maybe the last 6 months or so, we saw hiring now, they're paying more and all this. And you know what? It isn't the dollar that's moving it. It's, I don't feel satisfied. I just saw a graph yesterday. This was really interesting. It was by an insurance company. And the insurance company showed the happiness value of a human being from birth is way up here. That I'm happy. They go through school and everything. And as soon as they go out and get a job in a regular, it drops all the way down. It does not start turning upward until they are 65, 70, and it hits their peak when they're 80, because they're retired. They're doing what they want to do. They put in their time. They've, paid their dues, as you want to say, if they're lucky enough to live that long. And that's another thing.
I absolutely agree. Because when you go to the 3D, and that's what we're talking about, what our reality has looked like, it's
Right.
always about, money, and save. So what you're doing is you're making money. You're not giving to make money, right? You're not giving your soul gifts. You're not sharing. It's all about, like you're saying, well, I've got to do this my whole life, because in 30 years I have to do this, and then this is what's going to happen. And it is scary if you're trying to picture it and be in this 3D reality, because that's not where
Right.
we're going. And so
Right.
it's not a linear line. And
No, and the other thing too is, as you were talking about the young people, when the young people are coming in, they are looking at what makes me happy. Do I like these people I'm working with? And if they don't like them, they go, I quit. I'll find something else, because there are lots and lots of jobs. And those that do, that are truly connected with their divine self, they allow that to lead them to what it is, what their real gift is. They will know what their gift is. They will know what's in their heart, and they will know what job they want to do, or what career they want to have, whatever it is, because there's plenty of people. It's like, I like to build things, I love, I want to, I was really good at erector sets when I was little, and that, and so they are the next plumbers and electricians and carpenters, and they love to build homes, or they want to work, they're landscapers. They don't want to work. I don't want to work inside. I want to work outside. I'd rather be mowing lawns and plowing snow than to work inside at a computer, that kind of thing. So I think that's what I'm seeing with a lot of the young people that I talk to. They're just like, I'm not going to put up with a toxic office environment. If I don't like the people, I quit. And they do. They just go, here's my 2 weeks notice, I'm done.
yeah, I completely agree. It's really, it's time for everyone to go within themselves to
Yeah.
why they're here, and what is your purpose? How are you to better humanity?
Right.
And there's abundance everywhere.
Yeah.
There's so much good.
Yeah.
There's so many wonderful things that is the energy you stay with, right? To make
Yes.
it happen, and it'll
Yeah.
change. And it's definitely, how we have to be if we're going to make it, because you're already
Yeah.
talking about, as we're talking about, the world is going to continue changing, and it's nothing to be scared of. It's
No, I
to
agree.
embrace. My
It's
God,
to
it's to
embrace.
embrace.
Exactly.
It
Right.
is, it's the world of divinity. It's the world of why we're here. And it is about melding the heart and soul as one. And that
Right.
is one of the gifts I have working with clients, is doing that, is bringing the garden of Eve, of bringing the magic, of bringing the heart and soul back together, because it got separated somehow, some way. And that is our true essence. And that's who we
Yeah,
are.
that's right. That is humanity. That is what we have, that the robots don't have. We have that humanity, and that is also, we have to fight for our humanity at this time. That's part of the crossroads, to not become a robot.
Yes. And people do not understand, watching TV, the news, listening and believing everything.
Because it's fake, almost
It
all
is.
of it is fake. There's
It
not
is.
much out there that's the real deal. So
It is
why
true.
bother? You're better
It
off
is
sitting
true.
outside under the sun and listening to your heart tell you what's real.
The other thing that's just as important is the solar plexus, and it has layers and layers. So if you think about your umbilical cord,
Right.
when you were born, that your umbilical cord, when you will allow it, you can be connected to the whole cosmic energy, right? Of the umbilical cord to such a strong energy. And so the umbilical cord of the solar plexus of our power center, to really go in and trust your energy of what you're getting. So if you allow, they're saying, I'm really reading into as we keep going and changes, that the brain is going to be the solar plexus. It's not just cell, it's the membrane, and it has the power. You connect that with your heart.
Right.
And there's no stopping of where you're going to go and what's going to happen.
You know, I think it's Greg Braden who has brought out, there's several about the heart math, you know, the heart math and that they have found literally thinking cells in the heart. And we've always known about what does your gut say? You know, it's one thing what this says, you know, it's like, this is the last thing you trust. This is the first thing you trust. And then you want to know what this, after you hear what this is saying, then you check it out with the gut. What's your gut saying? I'm not really sure, because there is all of that thinking mechanism that's in the solar plexus. And so you're absolutely right. This is all, it's all important. It's all important. But if you use just this, you're not going to get the right thrust. I don't think.
You're not.
Personal opinion.
And you don't get rid of your left brain, you know, meaning your logical brain. You that is all part of the whole.
Yeah.
You know, of really. We are now at the end of our show. Is there anything you would like to leave the viewers and listeners of words of wisdom? You're highly successful. You're a mystic. You are an expert in what you do. So is there anything you would like to leave everyone with? Words of wisdom.
Words of wisdom are, first of all, it is never, never, never quit. That's Winston Churchill. Just you can't hit a home run if you don't get in the game and stay in the game. You know, you got to get up to bat and hit. Even if you strike out 2-3 times, go around the bases, get back in the game. So don't quit. That's the first thing. But the second one is listen to your angels. Listen to what that whisper is. You're not nuts. That is an angel trying to talk to you. Listen to what they say and then say thank you so that they come back and help you again.
Yes, we all have many angels with us.
Yes, we do.
We absolutely do. Besides guardian angels, I mean, some have the archangels.
Correct.
And there are also, I mean, there's so many different ranges of angels. There's little baby angels that hang out with you.
There's the cherubs.
Yeah, there are so many different angels that are here to guide us and to help us.
Yeah.
And it's, as you see in my background is my angel picture, my favorite angel picture.
I love that
I
one.
didn't even think about that today, talking about angels. But
and I've got a new angel here. A friend sent me this sculpture.
Yeah,
this
beautiful
stone sculpture of an angel.
Beautiful.
So that's my new angel. And then I got Archangel Michael over here.
That's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Well, thank you very much. And please give us your website that people can go there also and look for all of the books that you have. And what could you please tell us what that is?
It's www.Catherine, Catherine, Lanigan, LANIGAN.com.
Thank you very much for being a guest today.
Well, thank you, Judy. It's always